You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 97. When your spouse isn't attracted to your fat body. Let's do it.
Perfect.
I'm Victoria Wellesby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident, fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello fatties, welcome to this episode 97. You know what I said before? I need to do something for episode 100, and I just keep, every time I get it, I'm like writing an episode, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like 10 episodes away, I should do something. It's 5 episodes away, I should do something. So maybe episode 100 is just going to be a normal episode. And I'll celebrate the podcast as a different episode. I don't know. Anyway, this is 97. We don't have to think about that yet. Today's episode is kind of a few different things. We're talking about if your spouse isn't attracted to you. We're talking about leaving vegetarianism. We're talking about the dating apps. And we are talking about a little bit of weight science. Oh, jam-packed with goodness today, right? Oh, it's going to be good. All right. So, first off. So, do you know that I'm a vegetarian? I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for a number of years. I'd say minimum 5 years, less than 10, more than 5. Let's just say 7.5. And so I started my vegetarianism as a kind of half diety and half, I feel sad about animals because I'm a very kind of sensitive type of person. Anyway, and so then during my learning about diet culture and body positivity, fat positivity, all that type of jazz, I reassessed my vegetarianism and realized that it wasn't that big of a deal to me, you know, being a vegetarian. Like, it wasn't like felt like I was missing out or anything like that. It wasn't coming from a diety place at that time. And it just felt fine for me to continue to be a vegetarian. And a lot of the times being vegetarian, if you are unlearning diet culture, people who are vegetarians or vegans, a lot of the time, there's diet culture behind it, and it's so kind of deeply intertwined, it's very hard to see. And so it's kind of like, let's work out if this feels good, if it feels fine, if it feels like it's a point of stress in your life that you're like, oh, I really want to eat some meat, but I know I shouldn't, because if I do, then I'm bad. See, I've never had feelings like that. I've always just been like, I'm just not that interested in meat. And also, kind of, it makes me feel really sad to think about animals. And so it's just been a non-issue until last weekend. I've got a new next door neighbour. My old next door neighbour moved out, and I loved him and his husband. They were amazing. Very rudely left. And anyway, so someone else moved in, and that person is a cooker. They cook things. And they cooked a chicken, like a roast chicken. I went out into the hallway and I smelt the roast chicken. And it's not like I haven't smelt roast chicken and smells of cooking before, obviously, all over. But there's something in my mind was like, I need that. I want that. Oh my God, it smells so good. And I was like lingering in the hallway being like, oh God, that smells so good. And then I had lunch with Summer Inningham, Summer Innanen is another, does the same kind of thing as me. Go listen to her podcast, Eat the Rules. She's great. Anyway, I had lunch with Summer Innanen and I got this pizza. There was this pizza with, it was like a cream-based pizza, like, the cream sauce versus tomato sauce. And I've never had that before. No reason. I just haven't come across it before. And when I was eating it, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. What the heck? And I realized that the base kind of reminded me of tuna. And tuna was a thing that I would eat all the time as a meat eater. That would be like my go-to thing. I just fucking loved a bit of tuna. And so then like, there was this other thing. I was like, oh my God, I want some tuna. And so I was talking to someone about this. I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to start eating some meat. But it feels very strange. My body is telling me that I want it, and my brain is telling me that I want it, and I'm absolutely no way going to deny myself, especially because it's like two things in a row. And before, I could appreciate meat, right? Like if someone had and some sort of nice meat dinner, I'd be like, oh, that looks good. But I wasn't like, oh, that looks good, I want some. And so something has changed in my brain where I'm like, I want the meat. Give me the meat. I don't know what it is. But so I have I've had tuna. So I've had tuna. So that would be like that felt like the easiest thing to start with, because I don't want to overwhelm myself. I don't want to be like, eat lots of different meats and scare myself off meat, because I still do have in the back of my mind the animal thing, and so I'm just being curious about it and exploring it. And so I've had tuna on a few different occasions, and it was very strange me having it for the first time, because it's like a texture that I haven't tasted in so long. And I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I want this. But I ate it, and later in the afternoon I was like, I don't know if my body enjoyed that or not. But then the next day my body was like, yeah, I want some more. And so I had some more. And so anyway, I'm just exploring this. I think the next thing that I'm going to try is some chicken. And yeah, I messaged my sister. My sister used to be a vegetarian, and she moved to Ireland like I did. But she started dating someone. And when you're a vegetarian and single, it's very easy. But then when you're dating someone who is a meat eater, sometimes it can be a little bit complicated. And living in Ireland, in rural Ireland, there's vegetarianism. They're like, what is that? It's difficult to get vegetarian stuff. Anyway, and so she was like, it was just so hard to be a vegetarian. So I just started eating meat, and I was like, tell me about that experience. And obviously I spoke to her about it before, but I was really curious about like if she struggled with the thought about the animals. And she was like, I just put it out of my mind sort of thing. And yeah, so anyway, that's a new adventure I'm trying. And I might be like, do you know what, it might go away. Or I might turn into like a meat connoisseur. Who knows? I don't know. But what I'm saying is that I wanted to share this with you to say that this is intuitive eating. This is, I've been happily a vegetarian, it causing no kind of mental health issues, it not being a thing. Like, it just wasn't a thing. I just didn't really think about it. And all of a sudden, for no particular reason, something in my mind has changed. So I'm just going to explore it, and that's okay. That's all good. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person to want to try eating meat, and that vegetarians are morally superior, or vegetarians or vegans are morally inferior, or anything like that. It's just kind of intuitive eating, being open and curious about food, and just not making it a big deal. So anyway, that's one update for you. Another update for you is I've been on the dating apps. After last episode, when the person saying I get hundreds of messages, I was like, okay, I'm on the wrong dating apps. What is going on? I need to get onto some of these plus size dating apps. Okay, so I've got like a whole folder now on my phone of 9 different dating apps. Some plus size, some not. So what I've tried is So the first non-plus size thing is OkCupid. So OkCupid, I had a profile, but I wasn't doing anything with it. I was never, I didn't even know what my password was, so I wasn't active. It was out of date. It was like, oh, it was like talking about 2019 or whatever. So I updated that. I then downloaded Woo Plus. So that's WOO Plus, and that's a plus size dating app. I also downloaded Plus R, so it's plus with the letter R, Bust R, Bust with the letter R, and they are also plus size dating apps. Also, I have Happen, HAPPN. What is it with taking out the vowels here? Happen with no E. Hinge, which is the new kind of app on the scene, and Bumble as alongside OkCupid. And I also have Tinder and Tinder. That's it. I also have Tinder, but I haven't logged on to it recently. I can't bother. I'm like trying to stick to a few. And so Woo Plus is the best out of the plus size dating apps, but it's still shit. Like weird ass messages, hardly any profiles. And I'm in Vancouver, which is, lots of people who live here. It's kind of, people don't really fill out their profiles, or they just say stupid shit. So I don't know if it's just a Vancouver thing, a Canada thing, but Woo Plus is not really doing it for me. I'm not going to give up on it yet. I'm going to keep being active on there and swiping and shit. But then Plus R and Bust R, they are just dog shit compared. I think, you know what? I think you could happily meet people on all of those plus size dating apps. My criteria, I've got a very kind of clear set criteria of what I'm looking for. And so I'm not looking for just some random person just to be like, hey, I like big tits and I cannot lie. I'm not really, I'm looking for someone with some substance, right? So, I mean, you could happily chat away with people, I think, on those apps. But this is a week's worth of evidence that I'm giving you. So don't take my word for it. Don't feel disappointed because I'm saying that they're not great. It could be that I'm not doing the right things. And it's only been a week. Like, I mean, how long have I really spent on these apps? Maybe an hour each max over the last week. And so then, I did a Curvy Cupid course. It's not available to do anymore, but it's like how to find love if you're fat. Run by Krista Niles, who is a therapist, but she no longer does it, and she just got recently engaged, so she found that Curvy Cupid love. Anyway, Krista Niles in the Curvy Cupid course is saying that OkCupid is where it's at. And that has been my experience always, is that OkCupid is where it is at. They just have like a really high volume of people, good quality. People have filled out their profiles. You've got the questions of like, so you can see, you ask questions like, do you believe that people should be allowed to have abortions? And so people can write out that yes, no, whatever, and then you can be matched on a certain percentage. And so it's really good in that sense because you can weed out people who are like, would you ever date a fat person? Like, there's an option where you can search for people who will date fat people. And of course, not everyone has answered the questions, because some people go in and they've only answered a few questions, and some people have answered thousands of questions. And so it's not foolproof, but it's still very helpful. And it gives you a lot of information about the person. So the people that I talk to on OkCupid are high quality of match in regards to they also are, liberal thinking and all that type of stuff. So I would suggest OkCupid as the kind of main thing. And you can, if you want to pay, you can screen out the people who, you can screen for people who say that they are comfortable dating a plus size person. So I was meant to have a date on Friday, this Friday coming up. It's Wednesday today. I was meant to have a date on Friday, and last night I actually cancelled the date. So I want to share two interactions I've had on the apps. This is both of them are on OkCupid. So I met on OkCupid this guy called Amir, and we have a high match percentage, like 97% or whatever, same beliefs, all that type of stuff, and having a good conversation. We booked to go and have coffee on Friday afternoon, and it's all set, and he's like, great, see you Friday at 3 p.m. And then I was like, oh shit, do you know what, on OkCupid there isn't the thing to say if you're vaccinated or not. And I was like, oh shit, like of course he's vaccinated, but I'm just going to check. So I said, oh hey, just checking, I forgot to ask that you're vaccinated. I am. And he responded back saying, I'm not. I was like, oh okay. And I thought, oh, I better check that it's not like a health reason, because some people can't get vaccinated for a health reason. And so I said, oh, any particular reason? And he said, I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists, anti-vaccine type people, but I've got my own reasons, and that's all I'm gonna say. And so I thought, no, I can't, I will not, I refuse to be friends with, date, associate with people who are anti-vax, people who are not getting the COVID vaccine for no good reason. And so I said, oh, I'm so sorry, that's a real shame, but I can't date someone who's not vaccinated. Feel free to reach out to me if you ever do get vaccinated. And that was that. And that was like disappointing, because I thought, oh, he seems like a really interesting guy. He's been traveling the world for 10 years. And there was lots of like positives about him that I thought looked good. And then I was also talking to this other guy who was a film critic, and so I'm looking for, I haven't had sex in 2 years, okay, so I'm looking for, I'm happy to do some hookups and just get me some sex. That's cool with me. Also, really what I'm looking for is something long term. So I think I probably need to do some of the sex in, get some sex, get the sex, and then I'll be ready to do some longer term dating. Or, it's fine if it just happens to be longer term dating that comes up. But anyway, what I'm saying is that I want sex. So I was messaging with this guy who's only looking for hookups, and we were having a good conversation, seemed really chill. He was very open up front. And I said to him, oh, so just checking that you are fat positive, because he seemed quite liberal, so I'm presuming that he would have known what fat positive means. And so trigger warning for if you're straight sized. If you don't want to hear something cruel that someone says about straight sized people, skip ahead 2 minutes to avoid this. So just skip ahead. I'm going to mention what he said now. And so he said, I said, are you fat positive? And he says, well, I'm X amount of pounds. So he's a fat guy. And so yeah. And so I mentioned back saying, oh, that's cool. Sometimes though, being fat doesn't mean that you're fat positive. A lot of fat people don't like fatness and other fat people. And then he said, well, skinny girls' boobs are awful. That's his word. Skinny girls' boobs are awful. And I messaged him back saying, say what now? I literally said, say what now? No. All everyone's bodies are great, you know, kind of, I can't remember what I said, but I said, say what now? And then I was like, kind of like, no, everyone is great. And so some people might be like, oh, well, he's trying to say, oh, no, then he was like, well, what can I say? I'm a boob guy. I really don't like that word boob. I'm a boob guy. And he said, fat people tend to have bigger boobs. And I have big tits, right? You're probably like, Victoria, I hate you say tits, but that's my anyway. So I have big tits, and so yeah, like he's not saying anything bad about me. He's saying actually he likes my big tits. He probably couldn't see that I had big tits, but you know, in my pictures, because I don't have any like tit pictures, and so I was like, no, this is not gonna fly, and the reason is that any type of shaming of human bodies, saying that about straight size tits, no, he's literally wrong. Like, he is literally wrong. And he's like, so he's a film critic, right? And like a radio DJ or whatever. And so it just made me think that he's there being like categorizing tits, being like, oh, big tits are good, but only big tits that look like this and are shaped like that, and the nipples have to look like that, you know, because you know, those tits are A+ tits and these tits are a D- tits or whatever. That he was objectifying tit owners. And it just felt so gross. Like, he could just say, yeah, man, fucking, I love a big pair of tits. It's great. And also all sorts of different body types. I mean, he didn't have to say that if that's what he didn't think. But still, it just made me think he's a judgy McJudgerson. I mean, anyone who gets into bed with any human should be fucking feel lucky and pleased and excited, not being like, fucking idiot. So yeah, I cut him loose too, unmatched him. See you later, loser. And I bet he was like, oh my god, she's gonna come round and suck my dick. I just misgendered myself. Well, maybe he would have said that because he would have presumed that I am a woman, even though my profile says non-binary. Anyway, whatever. So that's been what's going on. So I was going to have a date, but no, turns out that they were unvaccinated. I wonder, I'm going to put it on my profile, vaccinated. I wonder like how many people are out here in the dating world trying to get their fucking balls sucked and they're not vaccinated. I mean, come on now. No. N-O. I think that's a good kind of like indicator of who you are as a human, right? And so if a guy or whoever I'm dating, because I'm pan, I'll date anyone apart from cis women, whoever is like, nah, it just really tells me a big, you know, like that they are probably selfish, that they are not believing in science, that, I mean, it's a big old red flag, right? So I want to, like, moving on from that, I want to talk about the idea of, because I see this often, people messaging me saying, what do I do? My boyfriend, my husband, my spouse, whoever has said that they are no longer attracted to me or are attracted to me less because I've put on weight. What should I do? And this is so powerfully painful. And I wanted to talk about it because in my mind, it's really clear. This happened to me. So I've got this experience. I know what it feels like. And I managed to survive, and I'm here to live the tale, breathe the tale of being told my spouse wasn't attracted to me or less attracted to me. So, by the way, it's not okay. If you've experienced this is not okay. I'm so sorry if you've had to experience that, someone telling you that they are no longer attracted to you or less attracted to you. It is not your fault. It is not your fault. You have done nothing wrong. Okay? Just sink that in. Just take a moment and let that sink in. If your spouse has told you they are less attracted to you or not attracted to you, they don't want to have sex with you, whatever, it is not your fault. You do not deserve to be treated like that. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. So let me share my experience here. Now, I've covered this a couple of times. I did a little video on it. I'm sure I've done a podcast episode, and I wrote a blog post too. So let me read this blog post. It's not very long. It says, the title of it is, Why I Was Happy When My Boyfriend Told Me He Wasn't Attracted to Me. So I wrote this 4 years ago. Okay, so, quote, me. This is me. I wrote this. It's a little thing, so don't, anyway. Why am I making I'm like, I'm trying to kind of make excuses of like, oh, it's just, because I wrote it. It's stupid. Anyway. Okay, so I always got the impression one of my partners just wasn't that into me. Let me rephrase. Just not that into my looks. My suspicion was confirmed 4 years in when he told me that he didn't find me as attractive because I had put on a little weight. Walking in the park at winter when he shamefully told me his secret, I assured him I would become better. I would lose weight. The next week I went on what would be my last diet. I vowed I would lose weight the quote unquote healthy way, and my partner would finally see me, see how wonderful I was, and think that I was the most beautiful woman in the world. Of course, as all diets do, it failed. I put on more weight. I became resentful. Why can't he just love me the way I was? Why did he have to tell me something that was so devastating to me? I was filled with shame, anger, and confusion. Why am I happy? Why am I now happy that he gave me this information? Why I'm now happy that he gave me this information is that it led me on a path of self-discovery around beauty. 6 months after we split, I asked him, would you have liked me better if I was thinner? Yes. This time his words didn't hurt. It didn't hurt because since I gave up on that last diet, I have learned all about fat positivity and feminism. I've learned how our patriarchal society and beauty ideals hurt all of us. Why would a thin girlfriend be important to you? I continued. He explained that having a thin partner improves his status, that having a small girlfriend makes him feel more masculine. Like a lot of people, he has never explored our society's beauty ideals. We are constantly told that the most desirable are white, young, and thin. This belief will hurt him as he searches for a new partner. It will hurt him when he finds a new partner and she ages. It will hurt him if she ever puts on weight. It will hurt her too, as it hurt me, knowing that the man that I adored would prefer a different version of me. Now I know it's not about me. It's the byproduct of living in a society that objectifies women. Men seeing their partner as a status symbol and women believing their worth is determined by the number on the scale, amongst other things. If I could travel back to that time in the icy cold park, I would have had such a different reaction. I wouldn't have seen my body as the problem, but the fact that my partner believed my worth was decreased as my weight increased. I would encourage my partner to explore his idea of what is desirable. And if he couldn't see the beauty of my waves and honey, then I would remove myself from the relationship. So, if you were in the same situation as I was, no, it's not your fault. It's this fucked up beauty ideal. You deserve to be with someone who accepts you for who you are, and if they don't, leave them. So that time, I remember it so clearly. Walking in the park and the lake was frozen over, and picking up stones and throwing them on the lake, trying to break the ice, and him just being like, listen, I don't want to have sex with you as much because you've put on weight. And I'd put on like fucking nothing, like barely perceptible. hard, not even a dress size. Like blows my mind. All of it blows my mind. And immediately I was just, whoa, shame, 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 shame. And I was just like, oh shit. Like, not only did I go on what would be my last diet, but I tried to be better in general. Like, I tried to be a better girlfriend when he had just said something so fucked up to me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make him dinner and I'm going to la 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 la. Because I saw myself as an object. Okay, well, this object needs to be better. So, I can't lose weight right now. So I'm going to, become an even better girlfriend. And I was such a good girlfriend. Holy shit. He was so lucky that he got to be with me. Oh, God. And I was with this guy for 6 years. So that happened 2 years before the end of our relationship. And actually it was a good thing because, I mean, at the time it sucked. I went on that diet. I didn't lose weight. I was like, for fuck's sake, I'm motivated by the deepest shame. They just, as you can imagine what that would feel like. And if you've even experienced, like, holy shit, I was motivated, right? And so why can't I lose weight? And it led me to discover fat positivity. And then I shared that with him and I was like, listen, this is why I can't lose weight. And we went to couples therapy. And one of the things in couples therapy is that I needed him to read Health at Every Size by Dr. Lindo Bacon. Health at Every Size is science, right? Science. And he was scientist. That was what he was, yeah. So I was like, okay, well, here's the facts. Read this book and you'll understand why this is such a big deal for me and I can't lose weight and why you're never going to have me as a thin girlfriend. And I was never thin when we were dating. And he just wouldn't. And so our relationship ended. And it was that and other things too. Like, he was just so... All of the, even the therapist was like, okay, here, you buy this book and I want you to both read this book. And eagerly, I went and bought the book. I read the book cover to cover really quickly. And then it sat on our coffee table for him to read for months. Never touched it. And so, reading the basic book of how to do a relationship or whatever, he couldn't do that. And so he couldn't grow. And what he needed to do in that moment, I mean, him confessing to me that he wasn't attracted to me is not necessarily the issue. The issue is that he confessed this and then he thought the solution was for me to change, but actually the solution was for him to change. So here's a quote from another piece that I wrote, like a video that I turned into a blog post. It's called "My Partner Told Me I Was No Longer Attracted." I'm going to link both of these in the everything I talk about today in the show notes. This is what a quote. He should have done. What should have happened. So, quote: "Thank you so much for sharing. I want you to work on your fat phobia because it's nothing to do with me. How you feel about fat bodies is nothing to do with me, so I encourage you to work on your fat phobia and your objectification of women. And if you can't do that, bye-bye. If you can, that's wonderful because you have a new woman here in front of you and she is glorious." So what should have happened, like if we were in a perfect world, he should have said, listen, I'm really struggling. This is not going to happen, but I bet you some people have had this conversation. Listen, I'm really struggling with my my fat phobia and I'm really objectifying you lately. And so just to let you know, I'm going into therapy so I can work out what is going on with me and unlearn my patriarchal, fat phobic, objectifying thoughts. and then I would have been like, okay, cool, okay, amazing. Thank you. Like, that is what should have happened, right? Say if I was dating a therapist, and a therapist was, like someone who was very kind of in touch with the reality of what is going on here, versus being like, I have this problem. To fix my problem, you need to change your body. Like, no. And that's why I say, in dating, my body, I'm so lucky that I have a fat body, because I can weed out the fat phobes. Because the fat phobes don't want to date me. But if I had a smaller body, I might end up accidentally dating a fat phobe. And then if I put on weight, then I'm stuck. Oh shit, we've got a fat phobe telling me that they're not attracted to me because I put on weight. Well, bollocks, I can kind of screen out the bigots, because they won't date me in the first place. And so if you're kind of struggling with this idea that actually it's not your fault, I want you to, let's reframe it with something else. And it might be a little bit more obvious how this is a problem. Imagine if your partner came to you and was like, listen, babe, I love you, but you're just getting really old. You're just aging, and I don't find women or humans attractive if they age. I'm only attracted to 21-year-olds. Yeah. Hopefully you could see how fucked up that is, and how deeply inappropriate it is that your partner is expecting you to stay a certain age forever. And because this is just a thing that human bodies do. And that's the thing. Human bodies gain weight, lose weight. Our bodies do whatever. We age. Our bodies will change. It is a guarantee. If you're with someone for any period of time, your body is going to change. You can't stop that from happening. And so if you have a partner that's like, okay, we need to freeze your body in this time right now, because if you change in any way, then I'm going to be like, oh, gross. Oh, I just want to have sex with someone who is who looks like an adolescent, like, it's just not realistic. It's just so fucked up, and priorities are so out of place. It's just, and maybe if you listen to me saying about the age thing and you're like, well, yeah, I'd probably go and get Botox if my partner said that, then I would say you're probably struggling with your own internalized misogyny and all sorts of other stuff. So if you're still kind of like, yeah, I think I should change for my partner, then I would encourage you to kind of keep exploring, because it's not appropriate. It's just not appropriate. So if you're in that situation with a partner who's saying that they are less attracted to you, no longer attracted to you, I would really encourage you to get into individual therapy, to get into couples therapy, and see if you can work it out. And please keep that thought with you, that it is not your fault. You've not done anything wrong. And anyway, even if it is your fault, quote unquote fault, it's not, even if you can't get behind that idea, what are you going to do about it? There's no evidence to support any way to reliably become thin. So it's kind of like, what are you meant to do about it? Even if you are like, yes, oh my God, absolutely right, I am fat and disgusting. There's no diet you can go on. There's no secret method that, oh, actually I'm doing it because my partner is unattracted to me. There's no method to get your body reliably thin long term. And doing the dieting is probably going to make your body bigger, that's fine. But if you're trying to go after being smaller, then it's going to do the opposite. And like I mentioned, resentment that you're going to carry for your partner. It's not your problem, it's their problem. Okay, good. All right, so I just want to end with a post that Reagan Chastain sent to her email subscribers this week, and it was really good, and I wanted to read it to you. It is titled, "How Can You Ignore the Correlation Between Weight and Health?" So let me just read this post to you from Reagan Chastain, my hero. I love Reagan. And again, I'm going to link this. If you're not subscribed to Reagan's newsletter, go to dancerswithfat.org. What are you even doing with your life? Oh my God. So this is, let me read this out. Okay. Let me just read the title again. How can you ignore the correlation between weight and health? This is one of the most common questions I get. The question goes, there is such a strong correlation between being higher weight and having health issues. How can you just dismiss that? Especially when so much of the research you point to is correlational in itself. The thing is, it's not about just dismissing the correlational relationship between weight and health out of hand. It's about examining the evidence around that correlation to test the strength of it. Before I get too far into it, the relationship between correlation and causation is at the foundation of research methods. My first research methods teacher made us repeat, correlation never, ever, ever, never, ever implies causation in every class. If two things are correlated, it means that they happen at the same time. What it doesn't mean is that one of those things causes the other. For example, there is a strong correlation between cis male pattern baldness and cardiac incidence. If we assume that baldness caused heart attacks, that would be a faulty assumption. If we then assumed that making affected people grow hair would reduce cardiac incidence, creating a government-sponsored war on baldness, blaming people for not growing hair, etc., that would be another faulty assumption. In fact, a third factor causes both the baldness and the higher rates of cardiac incidence. So when you see a correlational relationship between weight and health, but without a causal mechanism, the first question we have to ask is, what is the quality of the evidence? We have to examine the research that finds this correlation for quality. And when we do, we find it lacking in some of the most basic principles of research. For example, if fat people are tested early and often for health conditions and thin people are almost never tested unless they have advanced symptoms, it's spurious to assume that their health condition occurs more often in fat people. In another example, since too tight blood pressure cuffs give too high readings, and often fat people's blood pressure is tested using a too tight cuff, we have to ask ourselves how accurate that correlation is. The next question we have to ask is, could something else be causing this relationship? In this case, there are at least three major candidates. Weight stigma, as examined in Muning's studies, for example. Weight cycling, for example, in their paper, Weight Science, Evaluating Evidence for a Paradigm Shift. Bacon and Aframore found that the health impacts of weight cycling could explain all the excess mortality that was attributed to fatness in both Framington and the N. Haynes, and inequalities in healthcare. Examined in Lee and Pause's Stigma in Practice, Barriers to Health for Fat Women, for example. So let me just round that up in that last paragraph. So in this case, there are three major candidates, and the three major candidates for increased risk of dying as a fat person, the three major candidates is weight stigma, so that is experiencing fat phobia, weight cycling, that is dieting, and inequalities in healthcare. That's fat phobia in healthcare. Okay, continuing. So again, It's not about simply dismissing the correlation out of hand. It's about the reality that until we can account for the possible impacts of the research issues and confounding variables, the correlation between weight and health has to be held in serious question. Not to mention the fallout from the extremely questionable acceptance of the correlation of weight and health as a causal relationship, and the follow-up extremely questionable assumption that weight loss is the, quote, solution, drives massive additional harm. Looking at you, weight loss industry. That's even more significant considering that studies like Way et al., Matheson et al., etc. show that understanding that health is not an obligation, barometer of worthiness, or entirely within our control, show that there are plenty of ways to support the health of people at any size that have nothing to do with body size manipulation. You can find diagnosis-specific weight-neutral practice guides and resources and research bank at hayeshealthsheets.com. Finally, while I think it's worth having these discussions, since so much of fat people's treatment, including healthcare, is driven by this, we can never lose sight of the fact that fat people have the right to live without shame, stigma, bullying, or oppression, no matter why we are fat, no matter what the, quote, health impacts might be, and whether or not we could or even want to become thin. That includes the right to equal accommodation, including in healthcare. So that is from Regan Chastain. So I thought that was really important to share with you because in your life, as you're learning fats, positivity and all that type of stuff, you're going to have people being like, but I just Googled it and the World Health Organization, but the NHS, but the blah, blah, blah website say that fat people die all the time. And that you are going to live less long because of this. And you might be like, oh shit, like, yeah, but like what? Yeah, like, but what? And so a kind of wrap up of what that article was saying, correlation is not causation. So we don't know why fat people may have different health outcomes. We don't know the mechanism. There's been a correlation noticed, and the world has just been like, well, it has to be because they have more adipose tissue on their bodies. But there's no evidence to support that it's because they have, we have more fat tissue on our bodies. And people might say, well, but what about, there's this study recently that came out that says that there's free radicals in fat tissue, and and having that fat tissue means that you're going to have these free radicals roaming your body causing cancer and shit. So when you see things like that come out, go and have a look at the study. See, is this done on humans? Is this done on animals? Is this a huge sample size? Or is it, as in this study, a few mice? A few mice. And we all know mice have the same bodies as humans. And doing some tests on a few mice definitely means that it is a robust study and absolutely 1000% relates to people. And the media, the thing is, the media, God love them, love a good headline, right? And so when there's studies saying like having fat on your body means that you're going to get cancer and your eyeballs are going to fall out of your head, then that's interesting. So let's make an article about it. And they don't look at the evidence really, because they're under tight deadlines. They're just trying to do their job. They want to get something out there. And so we see these headlines like fat causes us to, our ears fall off and whatever. And then it's like, oh, well, there's a study that says, like Reagan's saying, we need to look at these studies and be like, like the jaw wiring thing recently that I was talking about. And it's like, oh my God, what an incredible study they did. And it's like, how many people did they do the study on? Like 20 or something, or 15 or 10 or something? And it was 2 weeks. And so we look into it and we're like, Is it really? Is that good evidence? Because that sounds like a study that we might do when we're like 15 years old at school. You know, like that's the level of how good it is. Anyway, so let me, okay, will you let me? I'm going to just wrap up, reiterate what I was saying about partners not finding you attractive. Okay, so just because I think that's a really important thing to really get solidified in our brain. So, if you have experienced this, or maybe you fear that you might experience this, a partner saying they are less attracted to you or not attracted to you at all because you've put on weight, then I want you to know that that is not okay. It is not your fault, and I'm so sorry that you have experienced that. And I actually experienced that myself. So my partner, who I was with for 6 years, 4 years into the relationship, confessed to me that he was less attracted to me because I put on a little bit of weight. A little bit of weight. Like literally a little bit of weight, a few pounds. And at the time, it spurred me into going on a diet, which would be the last diet that I ever went on. A massive amount of shame, guilt, blaming myself, vowing that I would become better, be a better girlfriend, be a better partner, get thin and sexy and all of that stuff. And of course, I went on the diet. The diet failed because diets fail. I put on more weight because that's what happens when you go on a diet. And I became deeply resentful towards my partner. And eventually we ended up splitting up. So what should have happened in that example is that if my partner was having these feelings, like he was, what should have happened is that my partner would say, listen, I'm struggling with fat phobic thoughts. I'm struggling with objectifying you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to therapy and try and see if I can untangle all of these unhelpful thoughts, because you are chef's kiss, incredible, and I don't want my bullshit to affect our relationship. And then maybe go to therapy, go to couples counseling, whatever. It is not your problem that a spouse is fat phobic. It is not your problem. Even if you do see it as your problem, there's no reliable way to lose weight. So what's the solution here? The solution is for your partner to unlearn fat phobia and unlearn and pick apart what is going on with that objectification and that desire and need to have someone who is in a smaller body for them to be attracted to you. Not being attracted to fat people is not a sexual preference. It is not made in a vacuum. We are taught what is attractive, and we can change our views about what is attractive when we unlearn all of that fat phobia that we've all learned. So I want to send big fatty hugs to you. Again, it's not your fault. It's not your problem to deal with. And I know it's just shame, pain, and it's just an awful experience. And I know a lot of the thoughts are going to be really swirling around your mind, being like, well, but is it their fault? Is it my fault? I should just stop being so unattractive. No, I'm sorry you experienced that. You deserve to have a partner who loves and respects you and appreciates your body. Okay, so thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm going to go and get my teeth cleaned. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go get my teeth cleaned. I'm going to come back looking like Hollywood celebrity with my white teeth. They're just cleaning them. They're not doing anything else to them. And I'm super excited. So thanks for hanging out with me today. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Fierce Fatty podcast. See you later. Okay, bye. Stay fierce, fatty. for listening to the episode. And if you feel ready to get serious about this work and want to know when the doors open to Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my signature program where I teach all about how to overcome your fat phobic beliefs and learn to love your fat body, then go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. Again, that is fiercefatty.com/waitlist to get your name on the waitlist for when Fierce Fatty Academy, my signature program, opens.